Fluency in English is something many people dream of. I remember when I was a young student, I wanted to speak English well, just like you. I was determined to become fluent, but I was also shy, and I made a lot of mistakes. One day, a teacher told me, if you practice every day, you can speak fluently. This sentence changed my life. When you want something, you have to work for it. Fluency doesn't come overnight. It's like planting a tree. You plant the seed, water it, give it sunlight every day, and take care of it. One day, that tree will grow strong. The same goes for fluency. I remember one day a student came to me, looking very sad. "Teacher, I want to speak English," he said. I smiled and said, "Don't worry." He continued, "I always forget words." I told him that fluency is not about remembering every single word. It's about practicing. You can practice everywhere, I told him. Listen to stories, talk with your friends, sing songs. You can practice all the time. I recall that when I was in school, I loved stories. My teacher would read them every night, and I would repeat the words. At first, I was slow, but over time I got faster. I learned new words, and my confidence grew. Another student once asked me, "Teacher, is fluency just about speaking fast?" I told him that fluency is not about speed. It's about speaking clearly, making sure others understand you. You don't need to speak quickly, you need to speak confidently. There was a boy in my class who spoke very fast, but no one could understand him. I told him to slow down, speak clearly, and use simple words. He listened, and soon everyone could understand him. His confidence grew, and he started enjoying speaking English more. Fluency is like a journey. You take one step at a time, don't rush, and enjoy the process. One day, you will look back and see how far you've come. In the beginning, many students are afraid to speak, but with time and practice, they start speaking fluently. There's a simple secret to fluency: listening. Listen to people speaking English, listen to stories, songs, and conversations. The more you listen, the more you learn. I once knew a girl who loved music. Every day she would listen to English songs, and in a short time she began singing along. Her fluency improved because she listened so much. Another important lesson is not to fear mistakes. Mistakes are our best teachers. I remember a student who was afraid of making mistakes. He didn't speak because he thought people would laugh at him. I told him not to worry about mistakes. One day, he decided to speak in class. He made many mistakes, but he didn't stop. Over time, he kept speaking, and he got better. One day, he told me, "Teacher, I'm not afraid anymore." That was the day he began speaking fluently. Fluency is also about thinking in English. When you start thinking in English, you speak more naturally. I once had a student who kept translating from his own language to English. It slowed him down and confused him. I told him to try thinking in English, even when he was alone. He tried, and slowly, he began speaking more fluently. Reading is another great way to improve fluency. You see how sentences are structured. You learn new words. When I was learning English, I would read simple books, write down new words, and then try to use them in sentences. This helped me remember the words, and soon I started using them in conversation. One of my students came to me with a book and said, "Teacher, I read this book, but I didn't understand everything." I told him it was fine and that the more he read, the more he would understand. He kept reading every day, and after a while, he came to me and said, "Now I understand much better." His fluency improved because he read every day and learned new things. Fluency is also about listening to yourself. Sometimes you need to record yourself while speaking and then listen to see where you can improve. I once had a student who did this every day. He would record himself reading a story and then listen to the recording. He could see where he needed to improve, and soon he was speaking fluently with his friends. An amazing way to improve fluency is to speak English with your best friend. I had two students who decided to speak only in English to each other every day. They helped each other with words and gradually became very fluent. They learned from each other and enjoyed the process. Fluency also comes from using English in real-life situations. Try speaking English when you're at the store with your friends or at a restaurant. The more you use English, the more fluent you become. I once had a student who worked in a store. At first, he only spoke to customers in his own language, but then he decided to speak to them in English. It was hard at first, but over time, he became more confident and fluent. Whenever you learn a new word, be curious about it. Don't ignore it, learn what it means, and try to use it the next time you speak. I once had a student who was always curious about new words. He would ask me what a word meant, and then he would try to use it as much as possible. His vocabulary improved, and so did his fluency. Setting goals is also important. Ask yourself, why do I want to be fluent in English? When you have a clear goal, you become more motivated. I knew a student who wanted to travel to an English-speaking country. This was his goal, and it motivated him to practice every day. Before he traveled, he became fluent in English. I always tell my students to enjoy the process. Becoming fluent takes time. But when you enjoy the journey, it becomes easier. I once had a student who loved watching English movies. At first, he used subtitles, but after a while, he started watching without them. He enjoyed the movies and his fluency improved. Fluency comes with repetition. The more you repeat something, the better you get at it. I had a student who loved movies. He would repeat sentences from the movies in class, and soon he was using those sentences in real-life conversations. Talking to different people helps with fluency too. Everyone speaks differently. The more people you talk to, the more you learn different speaking styles. I once had a very shy student who only spoke with me. I encouraged him to talk to other students. At first, he was nervous, but over time, he became more comfortable and fluent. It's also helpful to practice speaking about things you love. When you talk about something you're passionate about, the words come more easily. I had a student who loved football. He would tell me all about it. This helped him speak more fluently because he was excited to talk about something he loved. Fluency also comes from understanding that it's okay not to know everything. Sometimes you don't know every single word, and that's fine. You can describe the word or explain it in another way. I once had a student who wanted to know every single word. If he didn't know a word, he would stop speaking. I told him to keep talking and describe the word. This helped him continue speaking, even when he didn't know the exact word. One day, a student asked me, "Teacher, how long will it take to become fluent?" I told him it depends on how much practice you do. Some people become fluent in a few months, while for others, it takes longer. The important thing is to keep going. This student practiced every day, and soon he made progress. One of my students asked me, "What should I do if I forget a word while speaking?" I told him not to stop. Keep talking. Sometimes the word will come to you, or you can use another word. This advice helped him stay calm and keep speaking. Over time, he became more fluent. Sometimes it's important to take a break. After a long day of practicing, your brain needs rest. Relaxing is good. I once had a student who practiced too much and started feeling frustrated. I told him to take a break and come back the next day with a fresh mind. After his break, he felt better and continued to improve. Fluency also involves using the language creatively. You can write short stories, sing songs, or even make a video. I had a student who loved writing. Every day, she would write short stories in English. This helped her practice new words and sentences. Soon, she started reading her stories aloud, and her fluency improved. Another way to practice is by teaching others. The more you teach, the more you learn. I had a student who was fluent in English and decided to help his friends who weren't as fluent. He would teach them new words and practice speaking with them. This not only helped his friends, but also made him speak more fluently. Setting a routine is also helpful. If you set a time each day to practice speaking English, it becomes part of your routine. I had a student who practiced for 30 minutes every day. This routine helped him improve quickly, and before long, he was speaking fluently. Remember, fluency is a process. Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep speaking. You'll get better every day. Just like a tree grows strong with care, your fluency will grow with practice. And one day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. I hope you liked our story, Arkadakla. See you in the next video. Take care and goodbye.